Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I am Krishnendu along with my co-leader Ruby. Welcome you all to yet another exciting webinar on the PTE Peer Connect Community. So in our perception-driven world, beauty remains subjective, shaped by individual perspectives. The true challenge lies in cultivating perception authentically without resorting to deception. At the personal level, this perception manifests as personal brand. A personal brand encompasses a multitude of traits spanning both hard and soft skill. So this is our topic today, which is crafting your personal brand insight from PT's journey. So today our esteemed presenter, Shahid Azizul Haq, will share with us what he would or would not do different if he were to start his professional career again in today's world. So I shall start introducing Sahid, stealing his own words. He is married to SLB since April 1988. Sahid is an accomplished professional with extensive experience in production as well as reservoir engineering and leadership roles. He is currently the well construction reservoir domain head as well as the reservoir engineering discipline career leader. He has worked in different locations like US, Qatar, Saudi, UAE, Syria, Pakistan, if I haven't missed anything. Saeed is famous for his ability to lead and inspire teams across various roles and locations. So we took this liberty and opportunity to host him for this interesting session. Saeed, welcome. You are always a part of PPC, PT Peer Connect, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Krishnendu. Assalamu alaikum and hello, everyone. Krish, have you prepared that poll?
Yes, I'll put it once. Do you have a slide to start with?
Well, I can share my slide and then I can we can have the simple poll over here.
Yes,
and I'll let everyone know what is the intention of the poll. So just to, I'm sharing my slide with you. So hopefully you can see something there.
Yes,
we can see it.
Perfect. Perfect. Just to have an idea on whom I'm speaking with, who's my audience and I'm interacting with, if there's a simple poll, and afterwards, help me help you. Please keep your videos on if possible. You can mute your mic, but keep the videos on so it'll allow me to know who's who and where. And that's, you will see that's an integral part of whatever brand you want to create. So, Krish, over to you.
Yep, the poll is on your.
The intention of this poll is to know the demographics of the audience in a simple term, and your experience that comes in. Ideally, I'm looking forward to young professionals, but I won't be surprised if the demographics are very different. So please go ahead and answer the poll. Okay, 2732. We are 54 as of now. Okay. 38 out of 55 have responded. If you can, let's take another 10 seconds. Just click. And I can see Salah is there. Salah, afterwards, I know you sent me a question. We can talk about it later on. So, okay.
No problem. No problem.
Thank you. So,
okay, now I'll send the second poll about your geography.
Okay, thank you. There is another one coming up. Just to have an idea who's where. As expected with the time zone, mostly here. So if needed, we might consider later on having one dedicated one for Asia time zone. Okay, I'll let you decide if it is worth it or not. I know there will be recording for them, but still, um, I'll let you decide. So, okay, thank you for the poll. So I have an idea, mostly here, mostly 10 to 20 years. So not classical young professional, but bear with me. Hopefully, young professional at heart are here. We'll go with that one. So the intention of this webinar, which the more I think about it, and that's why Krish was asking me when I was cleaning my eyes a little bit, and I'm a little emotional as I was looking into what I'm going to share with you. There's a series of talks by MIT professors. They started it some time ago. It's called The Last Lecture. So they asked the professors once in their career to come and give a lecture, was as if it was, what will they say if to the audience if it was their last lecture? So it's not, it could be my last lecture, but it's not my last lecture intentionally right now. But the thought process is going in that way. So anyway, I'm going to share this talk and let me know if the clicks are going to work, and I'll move over to this one. So primarily, the theme is personal brand or personal branding. Initially, I'll break it into three parts. We are at 8:40 my time right now, more or less. So 40 minutes I'll spend, hopefully, on part one, which is taking you through my journey of whatever Shahid's brand is today, how it has evolved over time. That will be my part one. Yeah, so we'll see. And you may be able to resonate with a few of those key milestones that have happened in this journey. Part two is where I'll spend another 25 to 30 minutes in taking today's time. And if I were to start my career again, and or my son is about to start his career, what is my advice from my lessons learned to him in today's world? So that will be my part two. And then part three will be Q&A. I'll leave it up to you, ask whatever. Hopefully you'll have about 15 minutes or so on that one. In the best case scenario, that's my goal. Please keep on using the chat for all the questions that come into your mind or any thought process you have, any comments. Feel free to put it there without breaking the chain of your thought. Okay, so that's the intention over here. There will be some breaks whenever I need to take a sip of water or have a sip of my tea. So that will be allowing you to settle in and allow me to calm down also, because you will see my color changing with time and my voice going up and my frequency increasing as well. So in this journey, so now let's see if I am clicking here and hopefully, here we go. So thinking aloud is, after putting all the thoughts together, is where I put my first step. Okay, one takeaway. What is the key ingredient that Shahid is telling Shahid that has to happen for personal brand to exist? That enabler for me, and I have to go back. The question is, what matters most for that personal brand to evolve? That key question, and that's why I'm glad the video is on for some. Ruby, what do you see? The name is Gamma Ray. I hope that you can see the thing. So I'm a dog guy, not a cat person, but somehow this cat, I've learned a lot from this cat, and the name of the cat is Gamma Ray. So Ruby, any idea what the Gamma Ray is looking at? What this cat is looking at? Unmute and say whatever comes to your mind. What do you think the cat is looking at? So to help you in this deep blue sea that it is looking at, it's looking at something. So what is the cat looking at? It could be the evil queen mother, the stepmother of Snow White. The mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Right?
It's looking for a mouse.
It could be looking for a mouse. But the looking, what the gamma ray sees in the mirror is what? And that is what matters most. What matters most is how you see yourself in the mirror. Forget about what people tell you you can be. I was growing up and my parents were telling me, our son is going to become a doctor, our son will become this, this, this. I don't care what the others is. It all comes down to what I see in the mirror. The man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror is what that matters. If you cannot see yourself in the mirror with a smile, then forget about brand. Brand doesn't exist. So this is the most important element of branding, what you see in the mirror, which will evolve, which will change over time. So keep that in mind. Now, words of wisdom, people who know me, I follow words of wisdom. They come out of me, they go into me, and I live in and breathe them. Henry Ford said, if you think you can, you can. If you think you cannot, you cannot. It again comes down here. So if anyone tells you it is impossible, a little bit of space and a comma will make it I am possible. That's all it is. So on that note, now I'll take you through onto who Shahid thinks he is and or what is Shahid's mindset. How do I think? Every person will think, could think in a slightly different way. I realized way back that I am an engineer. I'm a technical person. I'm an engineer. I'm not a manager kind. So if you want me to become a manager, things will fall apart. If you want me to become a leader, hopefully I can instill some emotions, positive emotions outside. Now, as an engineer mindset, and that is why I'm bringing this, is everything I will share with you about my own journey is through the lens of Shahid Haq. I'm looking at my own data. Everyone can look at statistics in any way you want. So my mindset is working on cause and effect. As an engineer, when I look back, I'm looking at effects, trying to figure out the causes. If I'm looking in future, I am trying to instill some causes and thinking about what could be their effects. And my mindset is probabilistic. I start everything on a P10, P50, P90 mindset. But there comes an 80-20 rule for me, which is go, no go. At what point my analysis paralysis is too much? I need to move forward. So is it going to happen? Is I going to do something or not is where my 80-20 rule will come on probabilistic and I will become deterministic to move forward. But initially, to make things happen and think, I am a probabilistic person to begin with assumptions in mind. Understanding assumptions is key important. I'm very much a 5-dimensional guy, probably now more of a 6 or 7 dimension as you move up into the 6th floor of your life. Things start changing also. 6th dimension comes with the 6th floor. So when I was in my 5th dimension, 5th floor, the 5th dimension was, space is there. Everything that I see, I try to move from one space to the other. And the importance of heterogeneity and homogeneity and anisotropy comes into play. Similarly, when I move into time, any time which is behind me is one dimension and any time which is in front of me is another one. Because is in space, plus x is a mirror of minus x, plus y is a mirror of minus y, plus z or z is a mirror of minus z or z. But plus t is not a mirror of minus t, they are two separate dimensions. But in order to move forward, I have to do the history matching first. So that's how I am thinking of things, which means the history matching and forecasting using the probabilistic approach comes to my mind. And with this, I'm looking for trends. I'm looking for patterns. And that is where the data analytics is helping me these days, because I'm looking for proxies. If A is affecting B, B is affecting C, C is affecting D. In my classical evolution, I was going in stages. But in today's world where Saleh is living, he is not going to wait for A to become B, B to become C, C to become D. He will look at D trying to figure out A. So the mindset is very different now. I grew up, and that is what I follow inside out, is pre-job, on-job, post-job. Plan, execute, evaluate. And my post-job is always the pre-job for the next job, and that is how the continuation takes place. And that's the beauty of being a domain and in a service company, because it continuously allows us to look back and move forward at the same point in time. As an engineer, with all these mindsets, uncertainty is something that if I cannot understand uncertainty, I'm lost. I'm gone. I'm not a magician who has a magic globe over there to talk about things, which means I have to understand and hopefully manage my uncertainties and also plan for the unexpected. There are times when the uncertainties, the known unknown is there. And sometimes there's an unknown in that way. So my lesson learned over here, what Benjamin Franklin is saying, I said over there, failure to plan is planning to fail. So pre-job is the most important part of the job. 5 W's, H, S, and then SW. What, where, when, why, who, how, so what. And in these 5 W's, the 4 W's come before the 5th one, which is the why, which is the most important one. But what, when, who, and where defines the the environment. That tells me what has happened. And then I move forward and I ask the curiosity-based question on why. And this is pre-job part. That's a quick learning on my mindset. Now, moving further, and I'm on, hopefully slide 13 is where the end of part 1 will come in. The case study is my evolution. So I just gave you some ideas about my thought process as of now. So knowing myself, 5 years into the organization, I realized I want to remain a petrotechnical, inside out. That keeps me going. What keeps you awake at night? Petrotechnical expert in one way or the other. And what you see over here is what I made in 1995-ish. That is when SOTC came in. Before SETC was SOTC. In 1996, the O became E. O was oil field, E became Eureka. Eureka word was given birth in 1996. So I became part of SETC, and immediately there was an opportunity for me to go back and see who am I and how do I fit into the SETC. So I made something that as a petroleum engineer / reservoir engineer, petroleum engineer holistically speaking, there are 23 different potential sub-domains that I should be aware of. My competency level could be varying in that way. I had a bachelor's in petroleum at that point when I was hired with 2 internships beforehand. So I mapped my own competency in one way or the other. It's all relative. I let everyone, I'm giving you how I looked at it. Every person has their own way of looking at themselves. But this was my way of looking at it and said, where do I stand? And then the next 10 years. So when I made this plot the first time, it was when I was almost at the end of my first phase, whether it was called exploration appraisal, the way I look at it, then development, and then I'm in the production phase in that way. So in this way, opportunities came to me through positions, through responsibilities. So I was in Pakistan, hired as a petroleum engineer, and I did a lot of DSTs at that point in time, drill stem test, pressure transient analysis, blah, blah, blah. Then I realized that in order for me to remain an active petroleum engineer and have a career in it, my bachelor's is not going to take me a lot. Maybe in the heart of my heart, I felt as if I need to go for master's. I had the scholarship for PhD as well. But after master's, I realized enough. Right or wrong is subjective. But that is where I learned something else. Then I came back. Syria was there. And in the Syria, I had the petroleum engineering thing. So my screen is on the left side. So time and again, you might see me looking a little bit on the left. TPS is testing and production services coordinator, allowing me to understand what is happening in DSTs and perforations and all the other things we were doing. Performance Enhancement Group, PEG, which was a joint venture between, at that point, Dowell, which is cementing group and stimulation group, and then Wireline at that point in time. So eventually, and then for a year or so, I was also AFPC, which is Al Furat Petroleum Company, which is a Shell's joint venture in Syria. I was the account manager, so sleeping with the contract. And I realized I'm not that sales kind of a guy. That's not my. I enjoy all the other part of the thing. But the thing that made me at that point, and when anyone who has known me from a customer side or internally at that point in time, they will call me the doctor of sick wells, because that is where I started to relate to PI of a well. What do I need to do? What is the PI? Why the PI is the way it is? What is the skin right now? What can we do to change it? And that was how, mostly vertical wells, but that was my first number one. And through these 10 years of different opportunities, responsibilities, my competency started to raise in a few of the elements that I listed over here. So I started to grow a little more into knowing what is happening at the reservoir scale from a wellbore centric going forward, not from a reservoir centric coming in. I'm PI going out, not recovery factor coming in, not a simulation guy. I'm from the well logs. Yeah, so that's how it started. Then next 10 years is where I went into the world of Middle East, although Syria is also part of Middle East, but it's not that much of carbonate front. Here I was into the carbonate, into the horizontal wells and all the other stuff. And initially, the opportunity in the UAE was I was an IDE interpretation development engineer. So as an interpretation development engineer, I was responsible to introduce horizontal well production log. Flagship was the name, which flow scanner came out later. FSI came afterwards. This was before that one. Beautiful technology, and I learned a lot from the station logs in a horizontal well on that note. Then came to Saudi, reservoir and production domain champion for a while and at that point in time, and then moving to Qatar. So Saudi, the biggest oil reservoirs are roaming around over there, learned a lot. The scale is very different. The PRs are very different. 1 foot can produce 5,000 barrels of oil right there with a PI pressure drop of 3 psi. A very different world, eye-opener. Then moving in to Qatar, which has the biggest gas reservoir, another thing. And essentially at the end of my 20 years, when I got my 20-year pin, at that point, I was known as Mr. Horizontal Well Production Logger. And or if you want to run dual packer in a gas reservoir where you have 16 MDT strings over there, running over there, or modules over there, go and speak with Shahid. So that was my claim to fame in one way or the other. Then my competency is increasing as an effect of all these opportunities which are coming to me, or I'm creating these opportunities, goes both ways. At that point, now there's a decision point. Either I want to go and increase my level to level 10, 8 in my number, 8 numbers, these are all relative numbers. 8 in me, in my thought process is a subject matter expert, 8 out of 10. So sometimes I've gone to 9 and made it 7.5 later on, because I realize the more you know, the more you realize you don't know much. But that's evolution of knowledge also. Then I had the opportunity, one way or the other, where I moved into a very different side of the organization, of the workflow, which was well construction, D&M at that point. Big D, big drilling mindset, small M, small measurement mindset, no R, no reservoir mindset over there. And my key goal was that in well construction, where we are targeting steering, because added value of LWD measurement is to steer the well. If I need to speak with the people steering, then I have to bring some reservoir into it, some reservoir into that aspect. And that's where the real-time productivity steering in my mind, or real-time geosteering, became real-time productivity steering. So I started to start that symphony and mantra of RTPS, which I'm still doing as of now. Then 2017 opportunity came to become a DCM, and I was not an M. So I kept on fighting the word M. I'm not a manager. Don't call me discipline career manager. And eventually, officially last year, or a year ago, 2 years ago almost, Ilaria came in, she took the DCM and said, now I'm the DCL. So now I report as a DCL and do whatever I want to do, what the company wants. I was also blessed the opportunity to take over under my wings the domain which was geoservices domain, Surface Formation Evaluation Group. SFE is not Senior Field Engineer. These are Surface Formation Evaluation team. They are looking at the cuttings, they are looking at the fluids on the surface, the flares and all the other stuff. And being a downhole guy, it allowed me to start thinking in how the two can talk to each other. It was excellent opportunity for me to learn from all of my colleagues over there who were geologists to begin with, but were heavy on the fluid part on the surface. COVID gave another opportunity. One of my team member, Adil, he decided to leave at that point in time. There was a hole. We could not move anyone. So physically, I was for 2 years looking after Saudi. My nights were for Saudi. My days were for what here. And it allowed me to also see how wrong I was in making the decision as the reservoir domain head and how it is applied in the field. So it was a good learning and an eye-opener for me. A lot of gray hair came in for those 2 years that I spent with Saudi team over there. And Saleh is there smiling because he was part of their team, or he's still part of the team. But anyway, that's all of these opportunities allow me, by working with the GNG team, to raise my competency on the other side. And today I'm classified as my specialty is generalist. I am a specialized generalist rather than a specialist. I'm a specialist generalist. So because I can be a single point of contact to the customer, go in. So that was one thing. So learning from there, Walt Disney said, growing old is mandatory. Our biological clock is moving. We cannot slow it down. We have to bite the bullet in one way or the other. Growing up is up to us. For those of you who have become parents, the kids are the enablers to make you grow up faster or break you down if you don't grow up, and you have to grow up ahead of them, which is a challenge. But here I was. And my team who was reporting to me functionally made me grow up, because these are also my kids in one way or the other. Although Scotty, who's there, he's not going to. I learn a lot from him, and I learn from my biological son also. Anyway, now that was through the responsibilities and job positions, my growth. But there was another side of me who was growing through other things which were happening. And for that one, Eureka is there. Eureka came into being that 1996-ish. And from there on, as I move forward, formation testing and sampling, SIG coming in, then community leadership coming in, then management sponsorship coming in. So by being part of that Eureka thing, where I still miss, and I am one of those believers who believe in the power of that BB that we used to have. And hopefully somewhere we will reactivate it in one way, because that was a beautiful way to share knowledge. But there were other things also, whatever is happening. Then there's SPE. I was blessed that my first functional manager, Shakil Hassan in Pakistan, he saw me and he said, "Yeah, you have an interesting personality. You struggle between being a childlike and a childish at times, but in order for you to grow up, I need to put you in front of the customer." So he pushed me to become the SPE secretary a year into the organization, into the practical world. And that allowed me to speak with the chairman of Oil and Gas Development Corporation of Pakistan, our national oil company, who was the chairman of SPE. So instead of my general manager asking an appointment with the secretary of OGDC, they will ask me to speak and get an appointment. So my PR changed all of a sudden. And I came in, and there was a lot of things that I learned with the opportunities coming in the SPE. In Qatar, IPTC was given birth in 2005. Being the SPE director at that point in time allowed me to be in the governing body of IPTC, and I remained with that organization for quite some time. And with that, the opportunity was, Shahid, why not to become a session chair? And I started to chair sessions on subjects that I didn't know much about. And that was my way to learn from what abstracts are coming in, ask the question. It's far easier to ask the question than to answer. So as a judge, I was asking. So I kept on asking and learning through the answers which were coming to me. SPWA was there. So I started to become part of the SPWLA. Being a Pakistani at heart and by birth, I have very strong ties on the oil and gas industry in Pakistan. So I try to be with them. I realized that for me to exist and be relevant, I have to be very close to the students. The question that the student asks are the very basic one, and if I cannot answer those questions, then I will be obsolete. My knowledge will become obsolete. So many opportunities came in. I kept on going in. I was blessed by COVID that I did something that not too many Pakistanis can do. Pakistanis over here, in a way, that I was at the same point in time mentoring students from India and from Pakistan, the two sides of the border, which didn't exist for me, because they are asking the same questions and I'm replying in exactly the same way, because they are both my kids. So with that, and then publications came in, patents coming in as the opportunity. I was awarded SPE for the passion that I wear on my sleeve. Word was, the more you give, the more you get. That's where it comes down to. And the thing that I can give, that we all don't realize, that we are holding on to something which is like soft sands, and that is time. It's very, the harder you try to hold on to time, the faster it disappears. The more the time you give, the more time you realize you have. So on that note, moving forward, I'm starting with a words of wisdom before I go further. And that is in line with the title of the talk, which was taking you through the journey. Destination is not the key. Don't look at the destination. It's a nice thing. Enjoy the journey, and especially take time to pause at the landmarks. That is where you do the shukr, alhamdulillah, and the fikr. Thank God, appreciate what you have, and then think on how you can move forward. Because if you don't, then you are in a rat race or in a roundabout and moving this way and thinking as what classical DNM mindset used to be, the donkeys and the monkeys mindset. Apology for DNM. I know you're much more than that. And you're far better than the violin mindset in that way. Just to put that thing behind, I'm sidetracking a little bit. But the mind is that enjoy what you have while you have and continuously move forward in that way. So the best way to take a pause is to present. And when you present, you pick up the titles. So a lot of times when I was interacting with the students and or the people who are not directly associated with oil and gas industry, they could be anywhere. They could be in the medicine, they could be in the firearms department here in US. So you go in and you introduce to them what oil and gas industry is and or what SLB is. And in that way, I was looking at SLB or Schlumberger through my own lens. So many topics are here that I gave in that way. Similarly, there were technical talks, which could be webinars, which could be to schools and classes. A list of topics are there, helping me to take a pause and put my thoughts together and learn from whatever I have seen so far. Because if I don't stop and take a pause, that movie will disappear. So I have to look at that, rewind the movie and take some lessons learned out of the movie. And it can be in the subject that you see over here, which are on the soft side in a way. So most of the things I'm talking with you right now are through this. The last topic is the topic that we have over here. So these things, these are part of the evolution. Now, on that subject of all these topics, some of these topics were produce oil field water, good water, very close to me. That subject of water, produce oil field water. I was Middle East distinguished lecturer for a few years, taking this topic inside Middle East because people started to like it and ask me more of that one. Fair enough. There are other topics over here. Formation testing is going on, and I'm spending time with different universities in giving them one-on-one on formation testing. Every semester, 2 or 3 lectures that come in from the professors ask me to come and give it to that. But one topic that was a game changer for me, was a life changer for me, which changed my way of growing up and thinking, was the topic of reservoir engineering while drilling. Whatever I've learned being a reservoir engineer in the while drilling world. And when I started to talk about this topic, it became the SPE Distinguished Lecturer topic for 2019-2020. And what this did to me initially, in that year, normally people vote and ask you to come and give a talk over there. The rule of thumb is about 22 talks. You give 22 talks in a calendar year as an SPE distinguished lecturer. I was asked to go and give it at 30 times. So 30 was originally asked for, highest one. Topic people thought it's a nice, sexy looking topic or whatever it is, or somehow some of them knew me one way or the other. Halfway through, while I was giving these 30 talks, were supposed to be in 26 countries, in 5 continents, in 6 trips. On my 4th trip, on the 6th of March, when I gave my 16th talk in person, is when I was told I was going to Canada to give my next talk. They said, Shahid, COVID time, don't go. Go back to Houston. 7th of March is when the border closed. So I did 14 talks virtually afterwards. So there was another way of thinking. I was not planning to give virtually. So all of a sudden, my interaction, which was human, I'm an optics guy. I need people in my eye. I need audience I look at their body language to know who is yawning, who's thinking this way, who's like this, or who is actually with me. So every time I was going, I was trying to go and give a talk to the universities also in that place, wherever it was. And then originally the talk was 30 minutes. For me, it was 45 minutes. It became 1 hour. For schools, it was 2. And eventually it became 2 sessions of 2 hours or 4 hours of this topic. So it started to expand in itself. What it did to me, I went to the places and met the people I have never thought I would do. And I was wearing the hat of a distinguished lecturer from SPE. I was no longer coming from a service company. I was way beyond it in the eyes of my people on the other side. This group came to see me at the airport. They were with me at the airport in Ghana. Here I was at the University of Ghana. There I am in Milan. Stavanger, 2 talks, one in the lunchtime, 1 in the evening, first time I'm sitting in a technical talk where actually, if you can see, there is a wine glass sitting over there. So people were actually drinking wine, and I'm saying, well, it's the party time right now. And then from Stavanger, the day I moved to Bergen, a beautiful place on the shore in a harbor, and people actually, here now you see wine after the talk is done, but during the talk, they were drinking beer. I've never experienced a technical talk where I'm standing in the middle with a mic as if I'm a karaoke singer, and everyone is sitting over there and drinking beer and enjoying and having a technical discussion. Eye opener for me. Paris, different kind of a group. Then I went to Tanzania. Here I was in Tanzania and different groups over there. Doha, my team in Doha. I went back to Pakistan to meet my own school, and I tried to invite. If my relatives are around, I will ask them to come. There is my uncle sitting over there, my father's younger brother, and a cousin of mine. Another cousin of mine is in when I went to the Islamabad group of SPE, gave the talk over there. In the last leg in US, my daughter who was in Pittsburgh, I asked her to come and sit also. So she saw her dad in a different mode, looking and speaking at that point. West Virginia, my last in-person talk was in Michigan over there on the 6th of March. Now, the slide I'm going to show you, and that happened a little earlier, but that was I went to South Sudan. At the airport, I was escorted because there is a civil war going on, or there was a going on, and half the population over there is below the age of 18. Very young kids. The managers over there were all 22, 23, 24. Full of curiosity question. They treated me as if I was God. There's something called the Starbandi. They put this pink dress on me, and I was a king. I'm still shy when I look at this picture over there. It completely changed. I became a human. It elevated me that what knowledge can do. Then I started to do my second phase as virtual because the COVID allowed me to do all of those things. So that is happening as my brand is evolving through all those experiences coming in. Some experiences you create yourself, some you have to have the right time, right place also helps. Now, somewhere, I believe in every relationship, there is a relationship cannot be sustained if you break the basic element of relationship, which is you take care of me, I take care of you. If you forget about this phrase, every relationship, when you start taking things for granted, breaks. So I was asking Schlumberger/SLB, you take care of me, I take care of you. And in a way, SETC allowed me one way or the other. So I started in grade 7 in the local in Pakistan at that point in time. After a year, I got my grade 8. Another year or so passed in, I got my grade 9. And I realized that this progress is going on, but it's not the progress. It didn't hurt me at all. I didn't care what I was getting at that point in time. My first paycheck was 5,500 rupees, which was equal to, at that point, $550. I was already, anyway, that's another part of the life. But when I went for my master's, came back, and I became a resident in Syria. And then my next couple of things happened until SETC came in, and SETC allowed me to now put my case, and I started to understand the rules of engagement. What the company is asking for, the 5x5 elements, what do they mean? How can I interact and tell them? So once I understood that part, grade 12, every 2 years, I was becoming senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, principal, advisor. Sky's the limit. And things are moving because it's a two-way. Very easy on that note. The key for me was to realize the rule, which is called Parkinson's rule. So it says, work expands to fill in the time available for its execution. We are all deadline driven. Once you commit, and deadlines in front of you, some people go into a panic mode, some people adrenaline picks up, and they become much more efficient in delivering the result. So for some people, a day is just one day. For them, I have 24 hours. For some, I have 14 minutes. And for people like Scotty who are looking at deep water Gulf of Mexico rigs where you are stationary and the activity is picking up, you don't think in minutes. You think I have 86,400 seconds. Every second count. Now, God forbid, if any one of us, or any one of you, me included, is involved in a car accident, which is life-threatening, and or there's a casualty or some severe consequence happens, you realize when you look back that the things happened not in a second, but you start getting into milliseconds, microseconds, and even nanoseconds. It was a split second that caused it. And that's where you start thinking and seeing how time expands. Consequence drives expansion of time. So commit and look at the consequence as early as possible. Think about the so what, and all of a sudden things will start becoming slow for you. It's the same. I'm a follower of cricket. And in cricket, you know, it's the same time that comes in, but some people have a lot of time to play the shot and the others are lost completely in that way. So that, to a certain extent, I'm not yet reached my end of part one, which this will about to tell me in alarm bell will ring soon. So what I'm going to share with you quickly is learning through my mentees. And SCTC allows official mentoring also, and you can take this mentoring anywhere. And with COVID, my e-mentoring is there, so people from students or people from anywhere can ask me, and I will probe them a little bit, and then we will start having a dedicated session on mentoring. And these mentoring will go in. So now I do something called executive mentoring. And in executive mentoring, what I have started to learn is some of my colleagues, my mentees, they are looking at the first graph, which was technical, but in addition, they look at today and said, okay, now moving forward, which world I'm living in? How can I grow my competency in sustainability, in digital, in energy transition? I'll leave it up to them to define what they are after. And let's make a star diagram and let's start putting a plan on how to increase the competency per month in certain of these elements. Okay, good. I'm about 3 minutes behind. Another one will come in 30 minutes. Another mentee of mine, she started to say, Shahid, let me also look at, we live in a world of perception. Don't create perception through deception. But in this world of perception, I am looking outward and I'm looking inward for myself, me, I, and myself. But what about if I can see how Saleh thinks about me? Am I learning my people who are above me, my people who are next to me, my colleagues, and who are reporting to me at different levels, directly or indirectly reports? Am I an achiever? Am I a mentor? Am I a listener? Am I a good manager or leader, presenter? Whatever it is, let's put those skills over here and let's try putting a plan on how to grow it. And last but not least, there's another part of me as I move from third floor to fourth floor and now into the sixth floor, which is looking at legacy. The legacy could be my own growth in physical way. Am I healthy enough? How's my mental health? How's my spiritual health? How I'm doing financially, what my assets are doing, what is my work-life balance, whatever KPI I've put into the work-life balance. How is my experience counting? My relationships with my spouse, with my friends, with whoever it is. You can start putting some KPIs. I wanted to learn guitar, as an example, or whatever it is. So you put it, and I decided it's easy for me to learn about the tea and the color of tea and all the ingredients that go in. What should be added to the tea? What should I eat, drink on an empty stomach and after and before and whatever it is. So what is my bucket list? And you have to keep it on over there. So keep these things with you because they are, you look at the holistically. They are all part of you. That makes your brand one way or the other, because you cannot take a brand if you are guilty of stealing time from your wife, from your husband, from your kids, from whoever, and from the humanity. Because then you become selfish and or your ego takes over and your self-esteem goes down. Right? So keep that in mind. And that is my end of part one. So hopefully through my journey, I gave you a few tips in a way to take it into your life and look at your journey and make your journey the way you want to. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of this thing. Any questions you have, please put it on the chat right now. I will not answer right away, but we will come back to that towards the end or later on if needed. So part two is where in the next 30 minutes or so, I will try and give you my learnings, when I look back in order to move forward, if I were to start my career again, the do's and don'ts, the learnings that I have. So, John Denver's song, today is the first day of the rest of your life. It's never too late. Start being addicted to seeing the sunrise. When you see the birth of a new day, it gives you a perspective. So, try to do it. The more you can look at the sunrise, whatever sunrise is, if it is 3 a.m., 3 a.m. it is. If it is at, I don't know. Anyway. So, Shahids, in today's world. Now, in today's world, a few things are technical also. I am a technical guy and I will still remain technical. Whether it is SLB, I don't know. But what I know is I have to be much more digitally savvy. I can no longer be classified at the heart of my heart as a PTE. I have to be a petro-digital expert. It doesn't mean that I have to learn Python or whatever, but I need to understand the proxy. I'm a doctor, and I'll come back to that one, the doctor thing. But this is a very important major change that I have seen to the way I was growing up as a subject matter expert in how my subject, a new barrel of oil cannot be found using a new set of data. We need to look back on the existing data and convert DIKW, the data, into information as quickly as possible, convert the information into a practical application, bring knowledge out of it, and then take the knowledge in time and space and bring wisdom out of it as quickly as possible. So that fast track DIKW has to happen now using digital one way or the other. I'm living now in the world, we are all living in a world which is energy driven rather than oil and gas driven. So I have to think as an energy engineer. Yes, oil will remain, hydrocarbon will remain the primary source of energy for quite some time. We have invested heavily. It's the easiest way to commute, to take that thing and transport it from one point to the other and make use of it. But still, the other sources are there in which we have to be there. We produce 100 million barrels of oil every day, and we produce almost 400 million barrels of water every day from the oil fields. So the not dedicated water wells, the associated water, produced oil field water is 4 times more than that one. Today, this glass of water, drinking water, costs more than a glass or barrel to barrel of hydrocarbon, globally speaking. So the next world war, I hope it doesn't happen in our lifetime, but whenever it happens, it will be primarily on water rather than anything else, because that is where life and death comes into play. And then I have to now understand the subject of carbon footprint, water footprint, sustainability. The ESG, the environmental, social, and governance bodies are there. Those regulations are there. If I have workflows which create a much more carbon footprint, very soon they will become obsolete. They will not be practical. So technically speaking, these two languages I have to understand and speak those languages. Otherwise, I will be speaking language to people who don't understand those languages. Next, what kept me going is I have never ever, I'm married to Schlumberger/SLB. My wife changed the name, fair enough. In the heart of the heart, my wife is still the same, or spouse is still the same. I don't know who's the wife. But I have never ever worked for Schlumberger/SLB. I'm not doing a job. I never ever thought that this is a job. My kids know that Baba has a job tonight. Okay, they understand. Okay, computer is on. There is a job happening. We are running something in Saudi. Baba will be watching that. They understand that is the job. But other than that, there's no job. I'm an intern. I am in a 3-month internship, and today is my day 46. 45 days are gone. 45 days are yet to happen. I'm in the middle of my internship. As an intern, I'm curious. I'm there to learn. Things are new. My mind is open. My heart is open. And I am there to prove to the others I am a keeper. Keep me. fall in love with me. So interns do it. It's the moment you go into a job mindset, you are into risk aversiveness. Oh, my job is at stake, and your drivers are very different. The fear becomes a driver rather than passion taking over. So that was one thing that I will keep on telling Shahid. Remain an intern and be a better intern. I've always been a doctor mindset. So my patients are wells. I treat the wells. The Aramcos and the Shells, they are the parents. I interact with the parents. I want to be a family doctor. But I am living in a world where I will not be the doctor doing the post-mortem after the well is drilled, after data is acquired in that way, and then I'm diagnosing where is the new set of, is this a 1P reserve, 2P reserve, 3P reserve, whatever it is. I am now living a world where I am a cancer specialist, but I will not diagnose the cancer after the person is dead, or even when the cancer is stage 4 or stage 3 or stage 2 or even stage 1. I need to be the doctor who, by looking at the person, by looking at the symptoms, by all the data which is around it, the family history which is there, should be able to tell the person, look, you are about to have flow assurance issues if you don't change this, this, and this, because that you have all the symptoms of that one. And the quicker I can make the decision using my digital information, the better doctor I will be. So this is my mindset today. I work for one of the best companies that cook something. And I'm the best chef in that way. So my specialty is when Saleh comes, I give him the best possible meal that Shahid makes. But maybe I don't realize that Saleh wants something right now. He cannot wait for 30 minutes. He is desperate. He's in a differentially sticking environment where I have to tell him, don't wait until the pressure is stable to the second or third decimal figure. This is within 50 psi, and you are going to change your mud weight, which will be 0.05 ppg effect. This is good enough for you. I have to understand the needs of my person who's coming to eat my food. So communication pre-job is the most important part of that chef mindset. Not always giving my best, but best which is the best for that person's need as early as possible. If the person has the time, I want them to have patience. Don't come to me, plan coming to Shahid and have the best meal of Shahid. So get me engaged early. Right? That's the mindset over there. I love what I do and I do what I love. And that's what I do. I advise everyone. We do things for 3 reasons. There are 3 primary drivers. Fear, the least favorable, and as long as the fear is there, we will do the things. Once the fear is gone, we will stop doing it. It doesn't have any inertia. Obligation. My mother asked me to go and pray. Whether she's alive or not, I will still pray in her memory. Whether I do it for whatever reason, obligation is there. SLB is paying me for a time that I have to give it to them, and 110% of my effort should be in that time. If I do anything beyond that, it's up to me. But that is where that thing comes in. Passion is what the lover does. Dot connector, what I see today is what is different than what I used to see before. Classical example, before entering the world of LWD, I was looking at logs and colors and MDT in real time, and so many curves are going in there. 3 F sets are open, and I'm looking at all those curves and making a decision on what is happening. I enter a 6 bits per second world, not the 3 hertz, 4 hertz, 16 hertz that I was getting. And all of a sudden, it becomes, Scotty comes and says, Shahid, look at the 2 bits per second data now. So I am joining these dots. Life is giving us dots. We all are interpreters. We look at the information given to us, the data given to us through our own eyes. Do your due diligence to make the best possible picture that you can, but remember, someone else can draw through the same dots a different picture. We both are looking at the things from a slightly different perspective. No one of us is God with a big G. We are all small gods where our ego takes over. And be very cautious that your picture is not the only picture. So as a subject matter expert, we can become rigid in our thought process that this is the way I have been doing, and this is the only way, and that's where we will fall apart. We will stop communicating. People will not come. We will not listen. We will become something else. So be a dog connector and be open in that uncertainty. 15, 20 years ago, the word work, not job, but work took over a slightly different meaning, the context of hard and smart. So everyone thinks in a slightly different way, and I'll give you my take on what is the way when I will advising myself or my son on working hard. Baba, should I work hard or work smart? I said, look, before you start the work, there is a pre-work, which is those 5 W's, the what, where, when, why, and try to understand whatever has happened. Plan before you execute, because this work is execution phase. Do your pre-job. Once you have done that, now, since you are doing it the first time, whenever you do something the very first time, do it as hard as possible. Give every inch of your body and mind and energy in doing it. Try to see the end to end your way. By knowing whatever you have learned from the others, but from your way, work as hard as you can. Don't think about working smart at that point in time. That is your first thing. The objective that I have at that point is, after I have done the first time, next time when I will repeat it, I'm not going to put the same energy level. I will work smart. I have already learned something and I will do it the Toyota way. In half the time, I will get the same results. If you give me more time, I will improve my QHSE, either the quality of my answer, accuracy will be better, resolution will be better, the water footprint will be small, carbon footprint will be small. You can use any KPI to say how I am increasing my deliverable in the same time given to me because the quality is going up. That is where the work smart comes in. First time hard, every time repeat is a smart. And the time you save, you give it to something else to learn and give as hard as possible. So you grow. And then you bring your market value higher and higher, and your brand will be richer and richer. Now, in this work comes the work-life balance. So every person has their own definition of what is work and what is life and where is this balance, at what scale you are looking at it. Is the scale on a minute by minute basis, day by day basis, job by job basis, job that could be a production log that we are about to run and we finish that one, or a simulation that we are about to do, a single well, multi-well study, whatever we are doing. So on that note, the learning for me that I'm telling myself is, look at what grandma used to tell us. In our plate, 50% of the plate have as colorful, 7 colors is the must. VIBGYOR, the violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Bring those prism effect and look at your food. If it is all yellow, all cheese, all pizza base, forget about it. It is going to hurt you later on. So put as many colors as possible. If it is yellow, it will come from the lentil. Dal is good yellow rather than anything else. But have 50% of the plate on the veggies and the grains and the proteins over there. So the work that we have, for which we financially get paid, we need to give 50% of our time to it. And the time will be, you take away your sleep time, you take away all the other time you have. So if out of 24 hours, 16 hours are left, 8 hours is the dedicated one for work in those weekdays. So give it to that. 25% of the time is for friend and family. Because if you don't invest in them, the generation next to you and below you, if you are not holding your son's hand or your daughter's hand today, forget about them holding it later on, physically or emotionally or psychologically. Relationship will break if you do not do this first thing yourself. In any relationship, be the first one to say the 3 magic words, I love you, I'm sorry. We are very slow and we hardly say, especially the male chauvinistic ones. I don't remember when was the last time I said these words to my wife. I might have said it to someone else, but anyway, coming back here. Personal. 25% of the time is my own personal time, the one that I want for guitar or learning about tea. Or as a male, I can do nothing. As a female, I cannot. But I need to do something. That's the way the mind is set. But you need to have that time, and the scale is defined at you. Whether you look at it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, don't go beyond a month. Try to be as close to a weekly basis and look back and say, am I giving it? There are times when you are stepping into a new position. You may have to give more time on the work at that point in time. And you become engaged, you become married, you have become a father or mother. Your family will time go. You move from one point to the other. You have to invest in coming up with new friends. So you have to start thinking about balancing at that end. But this is the balls that we are balancing in any case. Try to balance it on some scale. Time is money. On that note, I grew up by looking at, and SLB told me that there is the time that I spent in failure analysis is my red money. My objective should be to minimize. As a domain head, I want anyone working under me to have least amount of time on red money. But if I was in sustaining, then all my time is on red money. But I have to understand where this time is used. It could be green money. It could be how this time helps in growing the new market. I am moving and introducing Spectrasphere in Saudi Aramco. What do I have to do to let them be aware of what they have, what they are missing, what is the added value of the new technology that comes into play? Or I look at the whole scenario and come up with a new answer product, new way of working, whatever it is. And that is my blue money time. So, but I have to understand the downside of everything. So once I know that, I have to somehow communicate to the others what I am working on, what is my added value. And my only thing, the why is so important. And in order to do that, you have to publish. You have to publish internally the best practices, the BDs that we have or we used to have, external writings that go in, give the talks wherever possible. Monthly progress report is one of the best things that I have learned. And I advise everyone who's working with me, write it down, commit to monthly progress report so that you can see what you are doing. Otherwise, it's a rat race. Everything will become routine and you will forget about. Every day brings you something new. If you haven't learned anything, forget about it. And keep your CV alive. Your CNP or your LinkedIn profile should be relevant. That is where you make your brand and you impact the people. Your email last line should be, if you want to know about me, this is my LinkedIn address. Let everyone see you through LinkedIn also. Don't be shy on that. Be a storyteller. Come up with your story. You have to own your story. And then make sure you walk the talk. Because if you don't, then you are creating falsified information and it will fall very quickly. That house of cards is going to break. So you should be able, right or wrong is subjective, but believe in what you are doing, commit to everything that you do, own your decision. If you don't own your decision, you are done. And that's where it comes down to, owning the decision, everything, probabilistically moving to the point where you have to decide, go, no go. And if my CEO comes in and tells me this is the wind of change, this is where we are going. Oh, we want to be blah, 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 horizon 1, 2, 3, sustainability, all these things. Either I become a parrot or a monkey and mimic and just be this, or I understand, own it, question it beforehand. And once I get the answer, once I am fully on board, then I become the amplifier and start influencing, because the CEO didn't wake up in one fine day and come up with something. There must be some reasons. Understand it. And same is for anything in life. Whoever, walk in someone else's shoes before you criticize them. So try to understand other person's perspective. And there are times when, with my biased information and knowledge, I may not be able to make a decision. It's a P50. I cannot reach the 80% go, no go scenario. And if it is P50, then you have to toss the coin. And what do? I say head is I will do, tail is I will not do. I will throw the coin up and I close my eyes and I listen. And I listen not to the sound of the coin falling down, but what my heart is saying, what my mind is saying. My mind was saying, go. My heart was saying, don't. And eventually I hear the word hope. And the hope says, I hope it is go. Whatever it is. The word hope is the decision. It's my hope, not someone else's hope. So with my eyes closed, tossing the coin, I got the answer I own. I don't go back and said, I wish it was the other one because I'm not moving forward. And that is where the faith also comes into play. It's not blind faith, it's faith at that point. Whatever that faith is. If you are faith and you go and ask Shahid, That child, I cannot make a decision, fair enough. Then don't question that. Have all the dialogue, do your homework, and have it, or God it is, put your head on somewhere, and then you get that answer. Or you sleep on it. Because sleeping on something will also have to get the answer. Pray is a must. Whatever form you find, it's up to you. With the eyes open, closed, standing, sitting, it doesn't matter what state physically, emotionally you are. This is the calibration point. Pray allows time to stop. Pray allows us to reprioritize and find the work-life balance. Emotional stability comes in, blood pressure goes down. You don't have to take any medicine. Pray is the best medicine. Find your way of praying, but do pray. Find the frequency of your prayer. Ideally, once a day at least, if not more. And the blessed are those who can pray while moments are going on. Every millisecond they are praying because they are owning their decision and they have full faith. And if you don't have fun now, then when? If you don't have fun here, then where? So this life, the first, when again going back to Gamma Ray, and Ruby, remember, Gamma Ray was looking at the mirror and the Gamma Ray saw the line, but what Gamma Ray was missing and what Shahid will have, and I will advise everyone, every day after waking up, look at the mirror. Look at the person in the mirror, but with a smile. The first thing you put on and the last thing you should take off is your smile. That lens of smile changes the way you look at anything. Otherwise, it should not be The brand is what people think about you after you are gone or will think about you when you are about to come. That is your brand. Brand is not when you are there. Brand is when you are not there. Is it an Shahid is coming? Aha, Shahid is coming. Oh, Shahid is coming. It's all matter of what brand you have created over there. They are looking forward to it or they are saying, hide. Okay, it's time. I'm going to get crucified or it's my waste of time. I don't want to be there. But have fun and have the smile over there and live. There are many different versions of this one, but the Roman emperor / philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, he said, plan as if you will live forever, live as if this is your last day on earth. And that's a fine balance that we have. Same quote came from Mahatma Gandhi later on, Hazrat Ali earlier on. Different people have quoted something similar, telling us that fikr and shukr are there. Enjoy, but think of moment, own the moment. Don't take it for granted that there will be a tomorrow. But don't make the clock make you feel shaky and say, oh, there is no tomorrow. It's the end. Why do I have to do it? No. I have a commitment. What is my legacy? What am I leaving behind? And that is what counts a lot. So on that note, thank you for your attention. Let's talk. So Ophi, we have 20 minutes.
Thank you so much, Shahid,
You're
for
very
your
welcome.
insightful presentation on personal branding. Your insights on creating a unique personal brand and effectively learning other disciplines were incredibly helpful. I especially myself appreciate your advice on increasing competencies and how this can impact our careers. This is really, really important in this community. And your presentation was not only informative, but also inspiring. So I'm sure we will all here use the tips in our own branding efforts going forward. So we will now open the floor for questions. So I advise to unmute yourself if you have a question.
Is there anything on the chat right now?
Yes, there is a question from Violeta.
Okay, let me also
So he
open
says,
the chat.
yeah, I can read that. Thank you
Yes,
for
please.
your enthusiasm. It's very compelling. As you move up, such as to the principal level, there are significant workforce reduction. What steps do you recommend to protect against this downturns? Good question.
Yeah, fair enough. I go back to the work smart, work hard thing. That if I were to do the same thing again and I use the same amount of energy, then I'm not growing. I'm actually going down. As an organization, if we keep on doing the same thing again and again, exactly using the same methods, we are not growing. So we are not making use of digital information. We are not making use of any other smart things that we have put in over there. So to me, it should be a no-brainer, and an expectation should be that workforce to do the same thing will keep on reducing with the passage of time. But that workforce, whatever we reduced, should be put somewhere else smartly to grow the new business. So the investment that is going on in new energy, as an example, is taking some of the people over here, putting it over there. Now, the industry is having a question mark for the last, at least 2020 was a big enabler, 2014, 2016 was another one, 14, 16, 18, 20, all those things were financial crisis. And today we don't know if this 2 days is enough statistically significant data that there is another downturn coming in, right? So all markets are crashing, and as they crash, financial investors, they become subjective. And when they become subjective, then how can you justify internally? You become a cost rather than investment. Money, we have, as humans, we come into that way. Now, looking at from both sides, so I'm not going to justify what is the right sizing. I give a proxy, not directly answering your question, but then I'll come back to this one. I'm at this phase in my life where 4 days from now, we have 3 kids. I mean, 2 daughters, both are married now, live in their own houses. Our son, who 4 days from now will leave the house and he's going to a school, which is 2.5 hours flight from our house. So he's gone. So now we have a house, and the discussion that is ongoing is right sizing. Oh, are you planning to reduce it because it's a white elephant, your needs are no longer there? So we are looking at, is this a cost or an investment right now that this house is? And if we cannot give this house the space for my next as a grandparent, which I'm not yet there, but I'm looking forward to that one, that my grandkids should be coming in and having their own space over there and feel free to come in, and I'm investing in that way. So this is becoming an investment. But if they don't come in, it becomes a cost to me. So if I cannot, so that's a human aspect that I'm bringing in. On the organizational front, the workforce that we have, if we cannot increase our revenue with the same workforce that we have, and or come up with some new market share, something new has to come in, then we will continuously downsize ourselves. And eventually, there becomes a point, then we will be in a niche market. So hopefully that is not happening, but in reality, with the passage of time, the people we know more, they are also disappearing. Younger ones are coming, which we don't see. They are in different skills that we do not see them directly speaking as PTEs today. But the number of headcount that we have today is still 100 and something, 110,000 people in our organization. So we have a very big organization that we used to have. Our revenue in 2014, as an example, and I speak as the domain head of something that I'm accountable for, which is the revenue of reservoir in the LWD world. We made $210 million in 2014. We did the same number of jobs in 2023, and we made 75 million, almost 1/3. The prices have gone down substantially. We are trying to deliver similar kind of a quality, but it's a commoditized market. So we, in response, are shrinking ourselves. Our headcount has shrunk. So we are using these. Some of my colleagues now are working in somewhere else in the organization, and or they have left it. So it's a challenge which keeps on going. Maybe I will only answer in the time given to me in 2 questions the way I'm answering right now, because it's a very loaded question and it's a very relevant, pertinent question that keeps on coming in, especially at the point where I am. I am not a manager. I'm functional manager, not a direct manager, so there's no P&L. But am accountable for a business that comes into play. And I'm heavily involved in retaining and developing the right skills. So I interact with the HR and with the decision makers in that way. So I see things from that angle and from the angle that comes from down below. So what we as domain heads are challenged time and again. And what we see is that the people whose competency we can grow in less than 1 year. If there is any, not people, any task that requires us to go and get someone from the market and grow the competency in less than 1 year, those people are very vulnerable. Those processes are very vulnerable processes. So these are younger, less than 5 years of seniority. We are talking about 3 years of seniority in general, less than GFEs. The other end of the spectrum is people who are 25 years plus of seniority experience. They are hitting close to 45 plus, maybe even touching 50. So they are in that time period. So that, and if all their career has been with Schlumberger/SLB, then they are loyal. Their heart will be broken, but not to the extent. And if we need to get them, there is an 80-20 rule. 80% of them will come back also. It's a very selfish way to look at it, but it's a very practical way to look at it. That they will come back as consultants and we can rehire them if needed. So every downturn we see that when we are letting go of experience, which is what hurts us the most as technical. But as managers, we think in that way that we can bring them back if needed. The vulnerable point is the one in the middle, 15 year plus minus seniority, 40 years plus minus of age. The 10 to 20, the demographics that I have, most of you are in that group. This group is the one who still have a future in front. You can dream. You still have experience behind. You are someone. When you say something you have done there, you can look at your own experience rather than someone else's knowledge. Your market value is the highest. So for you, and when you go in, you are also, since emotion, your heart will be broken and you will have a dagger rather than a knife. So you are going to stab whenever opportunity will come and you're going to hurt. You will hurt yourself because you're hurt, and you will give back to Schlumberger or SLB whenever the opportunity comes in. The way we let you go if that happens, or let me go if that happens. Well, I've gone back to, I'm now in the upper category. So on that note, we make sure that we keep this group as much as possible, because this investment, we cannot get them back. And it's going to be a hurt one for us. And now we are living in the world where there is a lot of dual careers. So that brings in another dimension onto it. Then the nationality comes into play. So you start playing with these variables which are there, and the decision maker is not as simple that, okay, downturn, let go. You have to think in that way, and then there's a consequence. We have to own the consequence as managers in that way. So what steps do you recommend to protect against these downturns? So now I gave you the perspective of top down. Your question is bottom up. So number one, downturns kept on coming. 2008, when I was hired, 2008, when I was hired, I moved into this world in 2008. 1998, time flies. There was a downturn as well. But I was a very low, they probably let go of someone and got 4 of me in return. And then with the passage of time, out of the 4, 2 were left in the first 3 years, and then few kept on going. And if you can, winds of change are there. But don't work again, bring in the messages that I gave. Fear, the concept of job, the concept of losing job, they are all negative. They will not make you flourish. So find who you are, what is your added value, and communicate your added value. Bring that thing to the table. So if someone has to make you to let go, make them feel guilty. And if it happens, as long as you know your worth, This is not the end of the world. When one door closes, God opens up. And I always have that belief in yourself and on the Almighty that doors will open one way or the other. Everything happens for a good reason. But don't ever, if possible, live in that confined place where you are suffocated because you feel, I don't read newspaper. I used to only listen to one news, and that was sports news, because sports will only give the positives, accomplishment rather than the failures. Where the world we are living in only shares the negativity. So I filter out from all of those ones. I live in my own utopian state. I can speak about cricket, I can speak about petroleum engineering, and I can speak about SLB and Schlumberger and a few other things that now the sixth dimension that I'm living in. But other than that, I've disengaged from whatever is happening. I cannot when and I'm again making it on a human level. I'm at that phase where 102 of us, my brothers, went to a boarding school when we were 12 years old. We came out when we were 17 and a half. So boys only school. Out of the 102, 9 have already passed away. They've gone. And we know 12 of us meet every year, at least 12 of us, and we spend 4 days together. That's my therapy. And there are pictures on my wall that reminds me of that whenever I look forward to when we will get together. And we know that one of us or two or three will be disappearing as the life goes on. Parents are already gone. Hardly many of us are left whose both parents are alive right now. I never saw and both of my grandfathers as a child. My father passed away 51 years ago. Right? I was 8 and a half, and I'm the eldest. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. So I grew up in that way, that this is live in the moment. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is mystery, today is the present. Make the best of present. Make people fall in love with you. Do everything with whatever you have. If tomorrow comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. So don't care. So the moment you get into that one and you do for yourself, you be proud of what you are delivering. Every work you do has to have your fingerprint. If and I don't know the specialty of let's see, Violetta. So whatever you are, petroleum engineer, you should be the petroleum engineer that people should go to for whatever it is. Maybe for red money, maybe for green money, maybe for blue money. But you should be the go-to guy. Find out as early as possible. In your first 5 years, you don't know who you are. But try the method of elimination, what you do not want to be. Then you start focusing on what do you want to be, and pick 3, ideally 5 subjects that you want to be subject matter expert until you have 15 years of seniority. That is where you become specialist. That is where you are the go-to person. And then you start bridging this one, because 1 and 1 makes 11. It's up to you. Some people want to zoom in further, fair enough. Some people want to go and say, I want to combine. I want to be the holistic person. And you become the generalist. But be someone. Don't be the next Shahid, be the first Violetta that exists. And if you go with that, you will become that. And come what may, enjoy what you have. So, a lot of philosophy in my thing, but belief is trust but verify. Okay, that's an old Russian saying on that note. Let's see. Second question. How loaded is the second question? I know, Saleh, you have raised your hand, but let me see if I can find the answer to the second question in the next 4 minutes. Thank you. I believe your insistence on being a lifelong learner to be the backbone of progress. Absolutely. Too often in life we think, I've made it. And I assume a wise man knows that when the moment arrives, growth ceases. Maintaining a while, blah.
It's more of appreciation.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
So,
Michael.
The takeaway is absolutely never ever stop learning and go with that thing and give everything. They say most of us don't forget our first kiss. Think everything is the first kiss. Every moment is the first moment. Today, 9:57 a.m. my time, right now on 6th of August 24. It is only going to happen once in our life that we are all together. Make the best of it. And every moment gives us the same opportunity. Go with that mindset. Right? Anyway, Saleh, ask me the question, please.
Thank you, Shahid, for the presentation. Actually, we used to do this type of conversation a lot when we like handling the real time for Spectrosphere. I was lucky to have it one-on-one. So thank you for that. And I applied like a lot of what we had done last time. I told you like I'm doing the monthly progress report, and I can see the progress on my career, on my personal life, even. And like it's really true that like if you follow these things and if you change your mindset, it changes. But you know, like I'm now at this obstacle that I'm a little bit, not sure how to deal with it. Like, yes, you are trying to do something, you are trying to change workflows, you are trying to improve your environment, but you will face the people who's comfortable at what they are doing. And you will feel some resistance. And sometimes this resistance is not from your peers. For example, it can be from your manager and all that stuff. And you know, like there are several ways to deal. You can confront and use the system exactly, and I'm sure that the system will support you. But then you will be a confrontation, and you might hurt them, and this is not what I want to do. So, from your experience, like how do you deal with this type of situation? How do you avoid, you know, like for example, aggressive confrontation and diplomatically, change the way and make sure that it is a win-win situation?
I'm sure you have all seen, and Saleh, you have seen it firsthand. I wear my passion on my sleeve. I'm an extremely passionate person. I'm loud. The more I get into it, I speak from here, so I speak fast and loud, and I'm very animated in everything that I do. Which, if the other person doesn't know me, can become a big showstopper. So it's 50% probability, and I've mellowed down substantially over time, that I will end up in a confrontational mode with my managers, with my colleagues, with my customers. And then now the learnings in all of those ones was where I've not done my homework properly also. And homework was to understand why they want what they are asking for. Stick test, classical example in Spectrosphere of formation testing in Saudi Arabia. I want people to go and do a stick test because to me, and I don't want them to do a stick test, and then drillers are going to come in and do that. And then you go in and thinking that drillers are very much what is their risk, what is there for them. Once I start understanding that, then I start speaking the language that we can communicate. Confrontation is the last thing that can happen. But twice in my career, I have walked out. Many times, walked out at a very high level. I went to do my master's, leaving everything there. I left. And I got the call after that, okay, Shahid, come back after 15 months. You have your seniority there and blah, blah, blah. Fair enough. And then there was another one where I think, okay, it's not, I have given everything and I cannot understand why this is happening. Okay, this is not for me. Okay, walk out. I walked out of meetings. And then I was told again, Shahid, come on, you walked out when there is not a CEO, but a high level person is also sitting there because I said, what am I doing there? I cannot take it anymore. I have other things to take care of in my given time. So let me work on that one and then resolve it. And then once it is there, let me know and I will try to understand what is the logic over there. But confrontation is the last thing in any relationship to move forward. Right? And these are all relationships. Relationship with the colleagues, relationship with the managers, relationship on changing a workflow. You want to change the workflow because you believe there is a lot of waste in whatever is happening in one way or the other. So try and put it in the context which is your KPI, which is part of what you're accountable for. Look at RACI. Are you responsible? Are you accountable? Are you consulted? Are you informed? If you are informed, then it's very hard for you to go and change it because you're not accountable. So try to make the change in the things which you are accountable for, and then start propagating that into this is where the whole team is accountable for, and they feel proud that they were part of it, and it starts resonating, and then it starts growing. It takes time. You can glide with least amount of energy, you can use and sail. But if you want to fly, when you want to take off, the resistance is the highest, the friction is the highest the moment you want to take off. If you don't, you will nose down. So in our SLP3s, and I'm giving, there's a very debatable correlation that 50 to 60% of us do what we are asked to do. And we get a C, because that is the definition of a C performer. The C performance is you did as you were expected to do. But then you start improving things. You started to improve the deliverables, reduce the turnaround time, market share is increasing, the revenue per job is increasing, the service quality is getting better, whatever the things are. Now you are getting into the B performer, because you, with the same amount of time, have started to bring something more than what you were asked to do. If you come up with completely new way of working, completely different, a lean process comes into play. You go into a tangent. Now there is a possibility that you, once you go into a tangent, you will be so far away from the nucleus. Nucleus is pulling you, you cannot come back, you become a free electron, you leave. It happens because you are in a very different world. They will let you go or you leave. And these are the A performers. So A performers will go and fight in something that they believe in. First they have to, not with ego, but with what you believe in, and try to convey it in a constructive manner on what it is, so that you can inflict that thing with the team. And ideally, the person reporting to you, you report to, is the first one that you want to be on board with. And then you start growing from there. And find a godfather also in the organization, because that godfather or godmother can bypass, if you have a mental block with your direct manager, you can easily overcome, and the best way is to publish. People will know you, not because you are calling them, because you exist. So make your presence feel. Okay, we are officially 5 minutes over. So
yes, if you have more questions or need further information, please feel free to reach out to Shahid directly, because we need to close now. And we want to thank you, Shahid, for the fantastic presentation on personal branding today. And we appreciate your time, your energy, and the insights, of course. Thank you very much.
Always welcome.
And we appreciate everyone's active participation, staying late. It was our first 1.5 hour webinar. So thank you, everyone. And stay tuned for our next webinar announcement. It will be shared soon, and we look forward to connecting with you all, guys. And thank you, Said, for your engaging presentation as always.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.